Hi, Cubs. And now we are going to start what is probably going to be our last read aloud of the year. Now, I thought long and hard about what I wanted to read you, but I also thought about, what's happening right now in the world. And to Miss Candleberry, one of the things that's most comforting are my favorite books. And I like to get those out and I like to read them again and again and again because a good book is something that you can always find new things in, new things to think about. And it makes you feel great, usually. A great book that you know and love. And so I decided that I wanted to read to you my favorite book. Um, my favorite book. This is actually the copy that I've had since I was in, I think, fourth grade. You can see it's a little worn. It's got some spots, but I took pretty good care of it, except for I lost the dust jacket. And again, the name of our book that we're going to read is called The Phantom Toll Booth. It's by a man named Norton Juster, who's in his 90s now, and he's written a few other books, The Hello Goodbye Window, Sweetie Pie and Sourpuss, but the biggest book that he has written has been this book. It's a very special book. It is an award-winning book. And it's been around well before it's been around since my dad was a kid. That's how old this has been around. But it has also been around that long because it is such a great book. And in fact, I wanted to start by explaining, first of all, the title. I want to make sure we understand what a phantom toll booth is. Well, first of all, a phantom is like a ghostly thing, something that comes and goes. It's like sometimes you could think of it as kind of like magical in a way. So that's a phantom, but the other part of that, the toll booth part, some of you might not know what a toll booth is. Now, if you've ever come down, if you've ever visited Canada, you know what a toll booth is because I've been to Canada at least a lot of times. You have to pay through a toll. But if you've never been that far up, or if you've ever been to Walt Disney World, you've probably been through a toll. But I want to show you what they are. So here, if you look on mine, you can see on a toll this is from Florida. You can see there's a cars, and they go through this, and they basically pay money to keep driving down a road. So here's an example. Here's another example of a toll booth. You can see you go through, and usually there's a person in this little booth that you give your money to, but not always. Sometimes your car can, if it has a special kind of pass, like here, they can just drive on through, and you can see they just go through. They pay their toll, or their car has a little sticker that you put on your car, and it lets you go through. This is an old kind of toll booth. This is like, earlier. This is probably what toll booths look like when Norton Juster wrote The Phantom Toll Booth. All right, and here is another one. This is in Massachusetts. And I do want to show you that before you were born, but when Miss Candle, but not that long ago, or maybe when you were just born, you might have just been born, Georgia 400, which is right by our school, in which you probably drive on a lot, used to have its own toll road, and then toll booth, but then they knocked it down. So you could kind of see what it looked like. Oops. You could kind of see what it looked like back here. And you could see, you would go and you'd pay your money to like a lady here. You could see that's kind of what it looks like, where you threw your coins in if you had coins. And then this little arm would come up and you'd be able to keep driving and keep going down the road. So that is what a toll booth is. I just wanted to make sure we understood what a toll booth is before we start reading a book about a phantom or a ghost, like an apparition, toll booth, a place where you pay money to continue to drive on the road. All right, now this book starts in one of my favorite ways for all books to start, with a map in the end page, a map on the end papers. I think great books have maps, and this one is no exception. So every once in a while, we will turn back here, and I will show you the map so you can see it. In fact, today we might be doing that. So the Phantom Toll Booth, and you can see Miss Canterbury did meet Norton Juster. It was great. Meeting Norton Juster was great. All right, so here we go. If we're going to read the dedication, it's to Andy and Kenny, who waited so patiently. And here we are. We're going to start with Chapter 1, which is named Milo. Chapter 1, Milo. There once was a boy named Milo who didn't know what to do with himself. Not just sometimes, but always. When he was in school, he longed to be out, and when he was out, he longed to be in. On the way he thought about coming home, and coming home he thought about going. Wherever he was, he wished he were somewhere else, and when he got there, he wondered why he bothered. Nothing really interested him, least of all the things that should have. So I want you to pause and think about Milo. Think about the kind of person he is. If he's always thinking about where else he'd like to be and he's never truly happy with where he is. Now let's unpause. It seems to me that almost everything is a waste of time, he remarked one day as he walked dejectedly home from school. I can't see the point in learning to solve useless problems, or subtracting turnips from turnips, or knowing where Ethiopia is, or how to spell February. And since no one bothered to explain otherwise, he regarded the process of seeking knowledge as the greatest waste of time of all. So let's reread that sentence and think about that. And because no one bothered to explain otherwise, he regarded the process of seeking knowledge, so he regarded learning, as the greatest waste of time of all. And so keep thinking about what traits you can see for Milo, because that's the question I'm going to ask you. So, all right. As he and his unhappy thoughts hurried along, for while he was never anxious to be where he was going, he liked to get there as quickly as possible. It seemed to a great wonder that the world, which was so large, could feel so small and empty. And worst of all, he continued sadly, there's nothing for me to do, nowhere I care to go, and hardly anything worth seeing. He punctuated this last thought with such a deep sigh that a house sparrow singing nearby stopped and rushed home to be with his family. So why would the sparrow hear Milo sigh and fly home as fast as he can to be with his family? How is Milo feeling? And it seems like not how Milo's feeling. It seems like this might be a character trait of Milo. So what character trait do you think this is? Without stopping or looking up, he rushed past the buildings and busy shop that lined the street, and in a few minutes reached home, dashed through the lobby, hopped on the elevator, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and off again. Opened the apartment door, rushed to his room, flopped dejectedly into a chair, and grumbled softly, another long afternoon. So if he's flopping dejectedly into a chair and grumbling, I want you to, if you can't, I want you to act that out. What does it look like to flop dejectedly in a chair? Yeah. If you just if you just like fell down oh, that feeling, that's exactly right. Let's go back. He looked glumly at all the things he owned, the books that were too much trouble to read, the tools he'd never learned to use, the small electric automobile he hadn't driven in months, or was it years, and the hundreds of other games and toys and bats and balls and bits and pieces scattered around him. Then, to one side of the room, just next to the phonograph. So a long time ago, a phonograph is something that would play records. So you can imagine it's like an MP3 player, all right, or a speaker. He noticed something that he had certainly never seen before. Who could have possibly have left such an enormous package in such a strange one? For a while, it was not quite square, okay? It was definitely not round. And for its size, it was larger than almost any other big package of smaller dimension he'd ever seen. Was that confusing? I think it's meant to be. So let's reread that one more time. For a while it was not quite square, it was definitely not round, and for its size, it was larger than almost any other big package of small dimension he had ever seen. So it's not a huge package, it's not a really small one. It's the biggest small kind of package you could see, and it's not really a shape, right? Attached here, I want us to see the words from this chapter because you can see how it looks different throughout. Attached to one side was a bright blue envelope which said, "For Milo, who has plenty of time." Of course, if you've ever gotten a surprise package, you can imagine how puzzled and excited Milo was. And if you've never gotten one, pay close attention because someday you might. "I don't think it's my birthday," he puzzled, "and Christmas must be months away. And I haven't been outstandingly good or even good at all." He had to admit this even to himself. "Most probably I won't like it anyway, but since I don't know where it came from, I can't possibly send it back." He thought about it for quite a while and then opened the envelope, but just to be polite. "One genuine turnpike toll booth," it stated, and then it went on. "Easily assembled at home and for use by those who have never traveled in lands beyond." Beyond what? Thought Milo as he continued to read. "This package contains the following items. 1. Genuine turnpike toll booth to be erected according to directions." Erected. Wonder what that could mean. To be erected according to directions. To be built according to directions. 3. Precautionary signs to be used in a precautionary fashion. Assorted coins for use in paying tolls. One map, up to date and carefully drawn by master cartographers, ooh, depicting natural and man made features. One book of rules and traffic regulations which may not be bent or broken. And in smaller letters at the bottom, it concluded, "Results are not guaranteed. If not perfectly satisfied, your wasted time will be refunded." Now that's interesting. How can time be refunded? This must be magical, right? Following the instructions, which told him to cut here, lift there, and fold back all around, he soon had the toll booth unpacked, and I'm assuming that's kind of what it looks like. See, right here, he's got this building, right? And then here it's got some signs, right? So let's see. So soon he had the toll booth unpacked and set up on its stand. He fitted the windows into place and attached the roof, which extended out on both sides, and fastened on the coin box. It was very much like the toll booths he'd seen many times on family trips, except, of course, it was much smaller and purple. "What a strange present," he thought to himself. "The least they could have done was to send a highway with it, for it's terribly impractical without one." But since, at the time, there was nothing else he wanted to play with, he set up the 3 signs. "Slow down, approaching toll booth. Please have your fare ready. Have your destination in mind." And slowly unfolded the map. Slowly unfolded the map. What do you think? Maybe. As the announcement stated, it was a beautiful map in many colors, showing principal roads, rivers and seas, towns and cities, mountains and valleys, intersections and detours, and sites of outstanding interest, both beautiful and historic. The only trouble was that Milo had never heard of any of the places indicated, and even the names sounded most peculiar. "I don't think there really is such a country," he concluded after studying it carefully. "Well, it doesn't matter anyway." And he closed his eyes and poked his finger at the map. "Dictionopolis." "Dictionopolis?" read Milo slowly when he saw what his finger had chosen. "Oh, well, I might as go there as anywhere." He walked across the room and dusted the car off carefully. Then, taking the map and the rule book with him, he hopped in and, for the lack of anything better to do, drove slowly up to the toll booth. As he deposited his coin and rolled past, he remarked wistfully, I do hope this is an interesting game. Otherwise, the afternoon will be so terribly dull. Dull is another word for, yeah, you got it, boring. And here we go. So here is the map that Milo got, right? And he has chosen to go. Let's see if we can find it. To Dictionopolis. Now, when I hear the word Dictionopolis, what do you think of? Yeah, I think of a dictionary because diction. So we will have to see where he goes. Now, I want you today in the comments to think of maybe a trait or two that Milo has. What is your impressions of Milo as a character? I can't wait to continue reading this book with you, Cubs. All right.